Today we are discussing Why We Build the Wall by Anais Mitchell. This is going to be very much a lyrical kind of written analysis thing, so if that's your vibe, stay put. If it's not, give it a shot. I think you'll actually enjoy what I have to say. I'm just gonna jump in because that feels very natural and I'm just gonna do that. Why do we build the wall? My children, my children. Why do we build the wall? Immediately, we see Hades position himself as a paternal protective force. He calls his subordinates his children, and this is interesting because ultimately at the end of the day, they are employees. So which is it? Are they his children that he's there to protect? Are they like little ducks in his shadow following him? Or are they grown people performing hard labor for his benefit? Or are they perhaps not actually his children, but rather him using the verbiage of like family and positioning himself as family to just like exploit them? Why do we build the wall? We build the wall to keep us free. That's why we build the wall. We build the wall to keep us free. So this little bit of the song is arguably simple, dare I say surface level, but the unified call and response occurring is a result of repetition. For example, Americans say the Pledge of Allegiance. I would say that most Americans will be able to tell you the Pledge of Allegiance, especially like if they're like in their 20s or 30s and like they're not that far from the memories of like being in middle school and being forced to say it every single day. So I raised this question regarding the singers in this part of the song. Are they singing it because they believe it, or are they singing it because they know it's what the boss wants to hear? How does the wall keep us free? My children, my children. How does the wall keep us free? How does the wall keep us free? The wall keeps out the enemy, and we build the wall to keep us free. That's why we build the wall. We build the wall to keep us free. I think I brought up like repetition earlier. Repetition can show in a bunch of different ways, and in this instance, I just want to pay attention to the number of times they mention the wall, the enemy, and freedom. Because, brother, they mention the wall 5 times, they mention the enemy once, and they mention the idea of freedom twice. It is clear that the wall and the act of building it is more of a self-soothing mechanism than anything else. Every time we like see this little structure, this call and response, this stanza in the song, it further like emphasizes this idea of like leaning on a symbol to like unite or like kind of just collect a group, right? Like they're saying this and it's groupthink. It's arguably easy groupthink. It's you say the same thing over and over and then eventually you are unified. It doesn't really matter if it's true or not. It's literally just a matter of like exposure. Who do we call the enemy? My children, my children. Who do we call the enemy? Who do we call the enemy? The enemy is poverty, and the wall keeps out the enemy. And we build the wall to keep us free. That's why we build the wall. We build the wall to keep us free. Notice how like we've kept the structure, but we've moved from how does the wall keep us free to who does the wall protect us from, right? Who do we call the enemy? My children, my children. So it's clear that the idea of poverty is the enemy in this song, right? And like, I think that it's pretty clear to say that in this song, the absence of work is poverty. I think that the phrase, the enemy is poverty, can actually be interpreted in a variety of ways, some more sinister than others. The idea of the enemy being poverty can sound good in a way, because if you say the enemy is poverty, then it kind of positions you as being like this force for good, right? Because you don't want poverty to be a thing that exists. However, in the year of 2026, I hear the enemy is poverty. And I think about everyone who gets kind of slapped with this label of like being a leech because they're on like welfare, or because they come from a quote unquote like inferior or like third world country, which has been like overexploited historically. Lots of thoughts there. But like, they say the enemy is poverty, and like they say it's about like keeping their jobs and like earning their keep, but like ultimately they just don't really want the culture to change, because too much of their identity is caught up in like earning their work and like earning their money and like being an employee. Like too much of the identity is wound up in that for them to ever consider like even the idea of poverty. And then also there's nothing there for them if they become poor, right? Because if you lose your work in Hadestown, first of all, that wouldn't happen, but hypothetically, if you lost your job in Hadestown, there's no safety net for you. You're now poor. You're now considered the enemy. They associate work with freedom to such an extent that they don't realize that they are being exploited. It's about maintaining and perpetuating a culture of like earning it. And also, I kind of think that it taps into like this fear of like, oh, if I don't have work, then I am poor, and the system that I live in will punish me because I am poor. So I cannot afford to stop working, because then I will be poor, and then I will be vulnerable, and then I will be the enemy. And then while we're here, let's discuss how NIE's released this song before Donald Trump became elected. So while we're here, let's just discuss the elephant in the room, the wall. The wall. In the United States, we all know what the wall is in reference to. The President of the United States said, we're going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. He's also mentioned in the files like 38,000 times, but like, yeah, I hate it here. Anais released this song before he was ever actually president of the United States. And this idea of wanting to keep out immigrants has been around for a while. And like I mentioned earlier, like poverty is associated with being undesirable. And there are people who like move from one place in the world to another place in the world, and then they arrive in that new place and they are like shunned or looked down upon because it's like they have less, or the association is that where they are from has less, and they're like here to take and like give nothing. And I showed a variant of what I'm talking about. Like I have a file, okay, and I shared it with my friend. He pointed out that what happens is when you operate from this like fear mindset, anticipating taking from a group that isn't like part of your culture or whatever, like this tends to actually force more spending in a way, in a direction that like takes away from like the stuff that actually benefits people on the local levels. Like in order for the military to have like state-of-the-art cutting equipment and like do this and do that, and in order for like a wall to exist, like that money is actively like a slice of the pie that does not go to the general public. Who cares about libraries? Who cares about welfare? Who cares about like feeding people and like making sure people are housed when we have this threat from another area that wants to take stuff from us? Meanwhile, we are just like taking from ourselves and poorly allocating our resources over like a boogeyman threat. My personal take is that like border patrol as a thing is very sinister, because it's like you're telling me that you want to, you're framing it like there is this threat and I need to be protected from this threat, but like you can just as easily leverage your presence to work against the interests of Americans as well. Like, let's be so for real. Yeah, a wall keeps people out. A military can keep people out, but it also forces you to stay in. Another thing is that like once you're taught to kind of isolate, you as a person not only become more unfamiliar with things on a larger scale, but you become narrow-minded and you also become reliant. Like, can we just acknowledge the fact that like the only two countries on this side of the planet like that like speak English are like the United States and kind of Canada. Every other country speaks Spanish, but like we're we look down upon everyone for not speaking like English, and it's like, whoa, we're the ones who are not actually actually participating in the dominant culture, because the dominant culture is not English. Okay, I'm just gonna step away from that for a second, but hopefully you get what I mean. I didn't even think about company towns until like this part of the project. Hadestown is a company town. Like, it's literally a company town. You can't punch out. A company town, like, is designed to keep workers trapped in a, like, perpetual cycle of labor where they are reliant upon their employer for basically everything. They're not paid in real money, they can't really afford to relocate, they have limited options, and they have to submit to authority unless they are open to compromising the well-being or safety of them or their families. Why We Build the Wall is a deeply political song. It is a steadfast critique of American propaganda, this idea of isolationism, this general like sense of revulsion toward like poverty and like people who are on welfare or people from different parts of the world, and this idea of there like not being enough to go around. It brings me such a sense of woe to know that there are people in red hats watching Hadestown. There are people who have gone to Hadestown and worn red hats. Like, where's your brain at? Where is it? What do we have that they should want? My children, my children. What do we have that they should want? What do we have that they should want? We have a wall to work upon. We have work and they have none. So we've gone from why do we build the wall to who does it protect us from to what do we have that they want to take from us. The most straightforward interpretation to me is like it's a fear-mongering thing about how people want the wealth that Hadestown has. The call and response here emphasizes the idea that people from somewhere else are coming to take a slice of the pie. I hear the phrase, what do we have that they should want? And I find myself snagging on the word should. Because are they singing about concepts? Are they singing about resources? Or the idea that a group that is not part of their own should find this desirable? Like, there's this idea that their lifestyle is up for grabs. But there's also this insistent that, like, outsiders should want this, which also implies that you're lucky they don't by default. But also, we're still going to push the argument that, like, they are dangerous and they will take away your quality of life. Like, hello? Right after Hades goes ahead and he basically says, the work is never done and the war is never won. And just like that, boom, we have escalated the entire thing. The work, the labor is suddenly framed as war. Up until this point, this song has been establishing that there are like two sides, right? There's us and then there's the enemy. And now it's all coming to a head because you build the wall to do your part in the war. You build the wall to do your part in the war. You, child of mine, are performing back-breaking labor because you, child of mine, are a soldier in a war. And you contribute to the war effort through the act of being an employee. You contribute through your hard-earned script that everyone wants to take away from you. So up until this point in the song, I think it's really easy to look at Hades like a businessman. But as someone who has seen Hadestown twice, once on the West Coast and once on the East Coast, I'll tell you right now, both productions featured Hades leveraging, I'm gonna call it like a bullhorn or maybe like a speakerphone or something like that. It's something that like amplifies his voice through the theater, and it's kind of like he's taking over the radio or something, okay? Like he's sending a message to troops. It is at this moment in the narrative that I argue Hadestown positions not Hades as a businessman, but as a president. So what presidents have done throughout history is they basically kind of angle their actions as like, hey, this is a war. This is a war. Therefore, I can use this executive action to get this specific result. Lyndon B. Johnson declared a war on poverty, and I'm pretty sure Ronald Reagan declared the war on drugs. Basically, if you are president and you say, I'm going to war with this specific thing, you kind of get to bypass Congress a little bit and do whatever you want. Like, I know what I'm saying is like an oversimplification, and I encourage you to like dig into it yourself, but like historically, presidents, they push it, right? They push it, because if we go back to the very beginning of our country, we can say, yeah, being president's kind of just like being a symbol. Like, you're not doing too much. And then gradually over time, we see that presidents have figured out different ways to accomplish different goals without necessarily getting Congress or like the other branch involved. Presidents just be out here finagling ways to get things done that we really didn't intend for them to do that. Anyway, point being, president is the guy who decides what happens war-wise with the country, right? A lot of wars have been fought to maintain the status quo. Specifically, status quos that benefit corporations. Like, we have Hawaii because we wanted Hawaii specifically to possess it for, like, fruit and sugarcane and stuff like that. The CIA low-key overthrew, high-key overthrew the Guatemalan government, specifically because there was this whole thing happening where the Chiquita company was like, oh my god, they're like electing a socialist, can you please do something? And the US government said yes, okay, sure. And now the Chiquita company continues to operate, and you know, they did a coup. Like, our government did a coup to benefit a corporation, right? Like, the president performed a coup to benefit a corporation. Puerto Rico, Cuba, Haiti, like, all of these different areas have literally been taken for a specific endgame, a lot of the time in like a more capitalist way, because they have something that we want. They have something that the president wants. So why do we build the wall? We build the wall because you have been taught about an enemy wanting to take what you have. We build the wall to make sure that you continue working, because Hades, whatever you think he represents, needs you to keep working. You need to keep working because you need to stay afloat, because poverty is the enemy. Poverty does not deserve compassion. If you don't work, you are poor. If you are poor, then there is nothing for you to turn to. But the work will never stop, because a lot of souls have got to die to keep the Rust Belt rolling. You work to stay afloat. You build the wall for Hades. And Hades keeps you isolated because he can't afford for you to stop working. It's never enough. The work is never done. The war is never won, because the enemy is poverty. And poverty is something that you perpetuate. Poverty is the result of a purposely inefficient system. A system designed to exploit you and keep you in a subordinate position. Orpheus sang, if no one takes too much, there will always be enough. It almost sounds like the demonization of people on welfare to me. Like, this song is about propaganda. It's about the perceived, like, inferiority of the poor. It is about how people are, like, conditioned to believe that, like, these symbols, these ideas of, like, retreating inward, the act of, like, doing something that, like, low-key hurts us in the long run, it's about that. That's what this is about. This song is deeply political, and you know what? I will simply not, like, I'm sorry, this is one of these songs. This is, like, one of these songs. Orpheus sang that if no one takes too much, there will always be enough. He sings this in stark contrast to Hades, who devours the earth for his benefit, perpetuates inequality, and teaches that if you do not work, you are poor. And if you are poor, you are irredeemable, and most likely out to take from anyone who does earn their keep. At the same time, this song is about, like, conditioning people to not recognize that they themselves are being exploited for the benefit of a system that does not care whether they live or die. Anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts on Why We Build the Wall. This song is so good. It's so great. It's so good. And like, the brain, it be whirring. So yes, if you made it this far into the video, you're very cool. Leave a comment, tell me your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you as a person think about my thoughts about this song, because I genuinely think that this is like one of the songs of all time. And if you like Hadestown, I think that you should definitely look up Phil Ochs' I Ain't Marching Anymore, because it is a very good album that touches upon a lot of similar ideas that I think Anais Mitchell touches upon in Hadestown. It's like, who are you dying for? Who are you working for? Do you even know what's going on? Are you digging a little deeper? Can you dig a little deeper? Anyway, yes, good times, lots of fun. Yee. Anyway, that's all, folks. I shall see you around next time. Anyway, yes, if you guys have any thoughts on basically my lyrical analysis of this song, and have any other songs that you would like for me to check out and kind of dig into, let me know. I love Hadestown, so I'll take any excuse to like dive into it and be like, look at how great Anais is. She's so good at this. She's so great. Genuinely, like, the lyricist of all time. Like, anyway, yeah. Bye. Anyway, yes. Bye, guys.